If you want me to follow the rulebook, I'll follow it cover to cover. Just don't act surprised when it backfires. I've been working in logistics since I was 19. I started in the loading bay, learned how to track inventory, ran forklift certifications, and slowly moved up to floor supervisor. Now I'm 38, and I manage day-to-day operations at a mid-sized shipping warehouse in Toronto. We handle parts distribution for commercial equipment, HVAC, generators, hospital stuff, you name it. Nothing glamorous, but it keeps the lights on. For the last 6 years, things ran smoothly. Our team was tight. Management trusted us to use our heads. If a part was mislabeled or a client needed something expedited and they were a good account, we made judgment calls. I wasn't breaking rules. I was just bending them slightly to make things work. That's what logistics is, solving problems in motion. Then Trevor King happened. Trevor was brought in as the new regional manager after the last one retired. We were told he came from a larger branch in Vancouver and had great results turning things around. That should have been a red flag. His first week, he introduced himself like he was walking into a failing company. "I believe in structure," he said in the morning huddle. "This branch has had too much leeway." That ends now. You ever meet someone who smiles, but it never reaches their eyes? That was Trevor. Clean pressed shirts, perfectly gelled hair, clipboard always in hand, walking around like he was measuring productivity just by breathing the same air. The first thing he did was pull everyone into compliance training. Mandatory. 4 hours of sitting in a conference room watching PowerPoints about company policy, stuff we already knew. But Trevor made it clear. From now on, no exceptions. If a client calls 5 minutes after cutoff, too bad. If a label's smudged and it delays a shipment, document it and escalate it. Don't fix it. It's not your job to think, he said. It's your job to follow. I should have walked out right then. Instead, I kept my head down. Most of us did. I figured he'd calm down once he saw how we worked. But he didn't. He started handing out write-ups like candy. One of the guys, Amir, got written up for using an old manifest template. Never mind, it saved time and was perfectly accurate. Trevor said it wasn't the latest version. Another guy, Dan, got flagged for helping a delivery driver load a van because he wasn't authorized for external assistance. It was insane. We went from fixing problems to just logging them. Then it was my turn. There's a client we've worked with for over a decade, Brentwell Diagnostics. They're a medical supply company that services rural clinics across Ontario. If their shipments are delayed, people don't get equipment. They called one afternoon, just before closing, saying they needed a specific part rushed out to Sudbury. I told them I'd take care of it, cleared it with the driver, logged it, and sent it out. The next day, Trevor called me into his office. "Did you process an after-hours release for Brentwell yesterday?" "I did," I said. "They've got an urgent install. We've always done it for them. They're priority." He tapped his pen on the desk. "That's not your call anymore. You didn't get written authorization. That's a policy breach." "I've been doing that for years. It's never been an issue." "Well, it is now." He slid a write-up across the desk like it was a damn legal notice. "One more infraction and we'll have to evaluate your employment." I stared at it. No warning, no conversation. Just a printed form with a checkbox next to insubordination. I signed it, not because I agreed, but because something in me clicked. If Trevor wanted us to follow every policy line by line, I'd follow it. I'd follow it until the entire system buckled under the weight of his own rules. That was the moment malicious compliance was born. It started small. I stopped correcting barcode mismatches. If a box was labeled wrong, I didn't fix it. I flagged it and sent it to admin. When drivers were late for pickup, I made them rebook for the next day. No exceptions. I logged everything in triplicate, filled out every form, even the pointless ones no one used anymore. I copied Trevor on every tiny issue, every minor deviation, every inconsistency, as he liked to call them. Within a week, things slowed to a crawl. The backlog started piling up. Clients were calling, wondering why simple orders were getting delayed. I didn't break a single rule, but I made damn sure every rule was followed to the letter. Then came the moment that lit the fuse. It was a Friday afternoon. A client, another long-term partner, requested a last-minute equipment part for an installation the next morning. Normally, I'd have walked it down to the truck myself and got it sent, But per policy, the request came after 3:45 p.m. The cutoff is 3:30. No override unless approved in writing by a regional manager. I forwarded the request to Trevor. He didn't respond, so I did nothing. That order didn't ship. The next week, that client canceled their account with us. Just like that. $80,000 a year in repeat business. Gone. Trevor stormed into the office, waving the cancellation notice. "Why the hell didn't this go out?" he barked. I didn't even blink. It came in after cutoff. I followed protocol. You didn't authorize the override. You should have. I followed the handbook, I said. Page 22, Section 3, Timing of Requests. He looked like he wanted to scream, but he couldn't say a word because he was the one who wrote the rule. After that Friday incident, the atmosphere at work shifted from frustrating to flat-out ridiculous. Trevor didn't say a word about the canceled account in front of the team, but I noticed he didn't include me in 2 morning huddles after that. Fine. I preferred silence over being lectured about efficiency by someone who's never lifted a shipping box. Instead of confronting me head-on, Trevor started sending emails, lots of them. Every little issue became a chain with 7 people CC'd. His favorite line was, "Just want to ensure full visibility and accountability." That was code for, "I'm covering my ass before something breaks again." He started pulling Shelby, the scheduler, into closed-door meetings and giving her special assignments. It didn't take long before she quietly told me, "He asked if I'd be willing to shadow your documentation practices." I raised an eyebrow. "Shadow me?" "Yeah," she whispered, said it was part of a process review. I nodded and smiled, but internally, I knew what was happening. Trevor was building a paper trail. If something else went wrong, he wanted to pin it on me. So I made sure there were no cracks to slip through. I kept everything logged, double-dated, and uploaded in 3 separate places. I copied him on every incident. If a part came in damaged, I wrote a report. If a driver was late, I documented the exact arrival time, took a picture, and uploaded it to the ticket. It was pure overkill, but that's what he wanted, right? The worst part? He made it clear to everyone that any deviation from company policy, even helping a teammate, could be grounds for disciplinary action. Morale tanked. Amir, the warehouse tech with 15 years under his belt, started calling the office Trevor's daycare. "Babysitting grown adults," he muttered one morning as we watched a delivery driver stand outside in the rain for 40 minutes because his appointment wasn't on the official form. "I can't let him in." Amir said when I looked at him. "Yeah," I sighed. "Don't. We follow the rules." The driver left. So did the package. Later that week, the driver's company called us furious. We shrugged. Policy is policy. The thing about malicious compliance is it only works if you play dumb and smile. So that's what I did. But even I couldn't predict what came next. One of our biggest accounts, Evermark Facilities, ordered a full HVAC unit to be shipped to a hospital renovation site in Thunder Bay. This was a rush order, flagged high priority. Back in the day, we'd have had it labeled and sent in 2 hours. But under Trevor's rules, it had to go through 5 layers of approval and be scheduled for next day pickup. Not only that, but a minor clerical error, 1 number wrong in the invoice, meant it got flagged by the system as a hold. The new admin, some poor kid Trevor brought in to tighten ops, paused the order. I saw it sitting in the outbound bay. I knew it was wrong. But Trevor's rules said we couldn't touch anything that didn't pass verification, so it sat there for 3 days. I didn't say a word. On the 4th day, the hospital called Evermark. Evermark called our branch. When they found out we had received the order and just sat on it, because a single number in the PO was off, they pulled their contract. That was $400,000 a year. Gone. That's when the calls started. Not just from clients, but from head office. Jocelyn White, our regional director, was looped in. She sent a brief note. "Please schedule a branch audit and include recent account cancellations and response logs. Notify me directly of any performance concerns." Trevor turned pale when he read it. He tried to spin it. In the next huddle, he said the branch was under review for improvement opportunities and thanked us for being resilient. Amir glanced at me and coughed the word bulls under his breath. I didn't say anything, because at that point I had a full binder, yes, an actual binder, of every delay, every misstep, every incident that could have been avoided if we were allowed to just use common sense. And I wasn't the only one. Shelby started keeping her own logs too. We compared notes one night after closing. She asked, "You think they're going to fire all of us?" I smiled. "No, just one of us." When Jocelyn from Regional announced an official audit, the mood around the warehouse shifted. People weren't scared. They were hopeful. That tells you everything you need to know. When your team hears the word audit and smiles, you've got a bigger problem than a mislabeled shipment. Trevor tried to act like it was a routine check-in, but he was sweating through his collar by 9 a.m., Monday morning. The auditor, Anthony Ang, arrived from Calgary. Quiet guy. Thick folder in his hand, polite smile, asked for coffee and a desk. That's all he needed. I offered to show him where the files were stored. He didn't say much, just nodded and started reviewing our logs. But I didn't just leave him with company folders. I placed my binder on the desk beside him. Labeled, Policy Compliance Logs, Jan, June. Inside, delayed shipments caused by over-authorization. Customer complaints that were ignored. 3 accounts lost due to inflexibility. Screenshots of emails Trevor never responded to. Printouts of incidents where following protocol directly led to failure. It wasn't revenge. It was proof. Anthony barely said a word that day. He stayed late, quietly typed notes, occasionally asked a question like, "Was this shipment held for label verification?" Or, "Did Trevor sign off on this denial?" I answered calmly, "Yes. The policy requires it. We followed it." By Wednesday, I noticed Trevor pacing outside the office like a caged animal. His clipboard walks stopped. He avoided eye contact. He knew something was coming. He just didn't know when or how. Then came the staff interviews. One by one, Anthony called everyone in. He talked to Amir, Shelby, Dan, even the new admin kid. Each person told the same story. Not rehearsed, just honest. We used to fix things. Now we're not allowed to help. Everything's a write-up or a delay. We're losing clients we've had for years. Shelby brought her binder too, color-coded. I almost laughed when she placed it on the table next to mine. By Friday, Anthony left without saying a word about what would happen next. But the next Monday, Jocelyn showed up. In person. That never happens unless it's serious. She called a team meeting in the break room. No Trevor in sight. She stood in front of the whiteboard with a calm voice and said, "We've completed our audit. There will be changes." Then she turned to me. "Can you step into my office?" My stomach dropped. Not because I was nervous, because I knew what this might mean, and I needed to hear it from her directly. Inside the office, she sat across from me and said, "We've reviewed everything. Your documentation, your team's feedback, client accounts. I want to thank you for how you handled all of this." I blinked. Handled what? Frankly, most people would have either quit or blown up. You didn't. You followed the rules and you kept the paper trail. It's exactly what we needed. Then she slid a sealed envelope across the desk. Trevor's termination letter. I didn't open it. I didn't need to. I just asked, "So what happens next?" "We'll appoint an interim manager. I'm recommending you, if you're interested." I paused. "Only if I can run it the way we used to. Fix things. Use our heads." She smiled. "That's why I want you in that chair." That afternoon, Trevor was asked to pack up quietly and leave through the back entrance. No speech, no goodbye email, just a dull echo of dressed shoes across concrete as he walked out with his box of files. The next day, I walked in at 6:30 a.m. like I always did, but this time with the office key in my hand. The Monday after Trevor was let go, I walked into the warehouse a bit earlier than usual. The lights were still off, the air quiet, and for the first time in months, I didn't feel the urge to brace myself. No memo, no passive-aggressive sticky notes on my desk. Just the smell of fresh coffee Shelby had left in the break room. I turned on the main lights, flipped the open sign early, and sat in the manager's chair. My chair. Now. I didn't do a big speech, didn't send an announcement, just ran the place like we used to, before everything got overruled by policy pages and fear. That first week, we scrapped the multi-signature shipment holds and reinstated a 3-tier trust system. If someone had a clean record and the right training, they were cleared to make common-sense calls again. It wasn't rogue behavior, as Trevor called it. It was working like professionals. Shelby smiled when I handed her scheduling autonomy again. "Wait, You're saying I don't need to ask permission to move a 2 p.m. slot to noon if it avoids a collision with freight? I sipped my coffee. Crazy idea, huh? Trusting people to do their jobs? She shook her head. Feels illegal. Amir got his forklift authorization updated without needing 5 signatures. The new admin, Caleb, told me he was relieved not to be the guy rejecting deliveries based on a typo anymore. Didn't overhaul everything, though. Some of Trevor's paper trail systems had value. We kept the digital logs and formalized a better version of it, one that tracked outcomes, not just errors. 3 weeks later, Evermark came back. Jocelyn reached out directly and asked if we'd be willing to reestablish the account under new terms. Their rep was blunt. We left because your manager wouldn't budge on a shipping delay caused by your own team. Now that he's gone, we want back in. We signed them again. First shipment, on time, no drama, no memo. But the real moment it all hit me wasn't a big event. It was a Tuesday afternoon when Amir rolled by my desk with a clipboard and a grin. He said, "You know what I missed?" "What's that?" "You, not looking miserable." I laughed. "Yeah, me too." Later that month, Jocelyn called to check in. Not with an audit, just to chat. She asked, "Do you regret how you handled all of it? The compliance stuff? The binder?" I thought about it for a second. About how many people in jobs like mine get steamrolled by people like Trevor and just take it. "No," I told her. "He wanted us to follow the rules. We followed them. All of them. To the letter. And sometimes that's the best way to show just how broken the system is." Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed, please like, share, and subscribe for more content. If you want to share your stories, please comment below. Additionally, what is your opinion on the poster's decision?